Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss about the topic rocket and also solid rockets. So this comes under the subject fundamentals of aeronautics and astronautics, and myself R Manikandan, assistant professor, Department of Aeronautical Engineering, Bharat Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. First of all, we should know what is a rocket. A rocket actually is a type of aircraft that uses reaction force from its propulsion system, generally at the thrust chamber, to produce its lifting forces. A rocket is characterized by a long cylindrical shaped body with a conical shape at its front. Of course, you can normally see a shape of a rocket. It has a very long central body and it has a conical shape at the front end. Of course, we do have a like a smoky or fiery end rear end that is actually called nozzle, through which very hot fluids are ejected at very high extreme speed. Now, as the reaction of the hot fluids exertion, the rocket experiences a forward motion. Of course, uh, due to this reactive force, the rocket actually experiences a very good thrust as per the third law of Newton's third law of motion. That is, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, how much speed, how much force it comes out, it will experience the same speed towards it. So, this is what we use as a thrust force to cruise forward. So if it is an aircraft, it is an horizontal thing. Now, as this is a rocket, it travels vertically, so which is used to lift the lifting force that it counteracts rocket's weight, which acts downward. So that means this makes the rocket to fly upwards. That means it can fly itself. So that is the theory behind it. So you have to produce a uh, high velocity jet at the rear so that it produces a high reactive force so that you can get a high thrust which moves the rocket upwards. Now we'll see the basic principle of rocket. Of course, high temperature, high pressure, high velocity exhaust gases provided to combustion and expansion in a thrust chamber. Actually, thrust chamber is a combination of combustion chamber and a nozzle. So that combination produces a high pressure and high temperature and high velocity exhaust gas, of course, which is actually created as a result of a combustion. We know what is combustion. Combustion is actually a burning, or we can say a combustion is actually a burning or explosion of fuel and oxidizer mixture. We all know a rocket is a non-air-breathing engine. That's why a rocket need to carry both fuel and oxidizer on board itself. Because if it is an air-breathing engine like airplane, it will take oxygen from atmosphere, so it don't have to carry oxygen. But in case of rocket, it is necessary to carry the oxygen with it because it is not taking oxygen from atmosphere, and that's why it is called non-air breathing engine. So it will not help, it will not take any help from atmosphere. So independent of atmospheric gases and their pressure and temperature and whatever it may be density, it will still produce the same amount of thrust which you want. Desired thrust we can easily achieve. That's what the biggest difference between a rocket and an aircraft. And the working principle is very simple. So you have a pressurized gas, pressurized oxidizer, you have a fuel, mix it, burn it, and the hot gas produced by it produces a high reactive force so that you will move forward. So that's the very simple principle behind the rocket. Now, how it pushes it forward, how the rocket goes forward. Very simple. That's what I said earlier. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction according to Newton's third law of motion. So you can see this blue color is the way, blue color arrow mark is the line which indicates the movement of the rocket at the forward. Now, this all because of the exhaust flow which is pushed backward. So you push the flow backwards. By that, you are creating a momentum which will push the engine forward. So engine is connected to the whole body, so it will take the whole body forward. It's very simple. So how much you push the exit gas backward, that much you will go forward. So very simple mechanism. In fact, before the invention of airplane engines like jet engines itself, you have invention of rocket engines, right? So now, how actually rocket engine operate? It's very simple. Actually, again, it's another one. It's another one symbolic representation. But the content is same. Of course, you have Newton's third law of motion, and it produces a forward motion. Now, listen. Here, it's not just the nozzle or any engine is mentioned. It's the whole rocket is actually symbolized in this particular picture. So you do have exhaust action. It's actually a pushing action which will result in a thrust reaction which pushes the whole rocket forward. This is what the realistic rocket looks like. So you can see in diagram it can be horizontal, but in real it is vertical. So in what direction the gas comes out, the opposite direction you will move forward. That's the principle behind the operation of the rocket engine. So our aim, suppose we want to produce more thrust, means we have to produce a high exhaust gas, high velocity exhaust gas. The more you give punch, the more you can go forward. So that's the basic concept behind the rocket propulsion. So rocket propulsion is actually a simple, and unlike turbojet, turbofan, and all, where we have so many parts to study about. But here the parts are also very simple, and the process also is very simple. Now, what is the difference between rocket and airplane? See, listen, airplane is something which is very different from rocket. Rocket is different, so airplane is different. So the same methodology. Suppose, sir, I studied airplane in detail. I know about airplanes very clearly. Can I say I know rockets that much? No. The principle is different. The methodology is different. The way it takes the air is different. So we'll see the basic differences between rocket and airplane. Now, first difference is that, of course, you can say rocket travels vertically. So weight and drag will act in the same direction. So gives the immense opposing force. So you can say overcome both weight as well as drag. That's why the thrust is in the opposite direction of the. So you can say the thrust is in a one man show, like, so it has to compensate both weight as well as the drag inside the atmosphere. Now, but in case of airplane, we don't have such things. Like, we have to overtake the drag as well as thrust. So automatically, you do have something called lift, which will we studied the force acting on the airplane previously. So in that we can see the lift compensate the weight so that it can stay in air. In the meantime, if you need to move forward, it is necessary to have the thrust force which is produced as the result of the engine power. Now, this is the first major difference. The second major difference is that you do have wings in case of a airplane. But in case of rocket, we don't have wings. Instead, we use the exhaust from the rocket nozzle as the lift generating force. So thrust acts as a lift here. That is why it is called propulsive lift. So in case of a airplane, um, you do have wings to produce lift, whereas in case of a rocket, we don't have wings to produce lift. It is produced by the engine alone. So that's why it's called propulsive lift. So thrust, or we can say it as a propulsive lift. Now, the payload. Now, the payload in place of airplane is actually a passenger. It can be passengers, can be cargo, or it can be trainer, whatever. So it's a human or something like you do have a payload. So payload is nothing but the load carried by the particular airplane. Now, that is the payload in case of a airplane. But in case of rocket, the payload can be a satellite. Normally, it is a satellite. It can be, suppose if it is a missile, it can be a gunpowder or a weapon. Or if it is a mission, like it can carry some human personnel also. Then it can carry any animals also. So we have experimental mission. So now, the basic difference is that the payload. So in case of airplane, the payload is uh, passengers or cargo or anything like that, medical export or so. It's generally a cargo or a passenger. But in case of rocket, it normally is satellite as well as the gunpowder if it is a missile, because missile also comes under rockets only. Now, again, it can be personal, like a human personnel, but it's very rare. So generally, it is satellite, carries satellites only as a payload. But the major difference between a rocket and an airplane is that a rocket is actually it uses non-air breathing engine. That means it don't take oxygen from atmosphere. It is independent of oxygen from atmosphere. We have to take oxygen in board, so we have to carry oxidizers. So then we mix the oxidizer with the fuel and we burn it. But in case of airplane, we take oxygen from atmosphere at various altitudes. We go for a different density. Air is there, so you need to cope up with that. The thrust generation also will be affected by means of that. Specific fuel consumption will be affected by means of that. Intake will be mass flow rate also will be varying. But in case of rocket, it is actually in your control, because you carry oxidizer separately. You can control the amount of oxygen supplied into, and so this is the basic difference between a rocket and an airplane. This is one of the basic, very important difference. I mention again, in a rocket, we use non-air breathing engine, whereas in case of airplane, we use a air breathing engine. Now, the other difference is like airplane takes off horizontally. It has a horizontal run and it takes off. Whereas in case of rocket, you do have vertical takeoff. There are so many other differences also, like fins and control surfaces. Of course, in case of rockets, you have to control the position and the movement of the rocket by means of the thrust vector control. We have to use thrust. We have to deflect the thrust, and only we can actually change the position of the airplane. Position of the rocket. Whereas in case of airplane, we use control surfaces like elevator, aileron, and rudder. That is there. So control is there. Then we do have stabilizers in case of airplanes, whereas in case of rockets, we use fins. So there are some other basic differences also, but these are the very important differences between the rocket and the airplane. Now, what are the parts of a spacecraft? Generally, what are the parts of the spacecraft? So, spacecraft, or we can say, we can say rocket have four separate parts. First one, the main body, or we can say it as a structure. Structure is actually the framework that helps the uh, holding, like it holds everything, every possible, every engine, every guidance system, payload, even everything is holded by means of the main body. That's why it's called as the main framework, and it is called the structure. Now, generally it is similar to the fuselage of the plane. So in case of airplane, the fuselage plays a major role in holding everything. The same thing is happening in case of the structure also. Now, the second one is propulsion system. So you can hold everything, but you need to produce thrust to go upward. So propulsion system, which consists of engine, fuel tanks, and other rocketry boosters, which all constitutes a propulsion system to produce the required thrust, or you can say propulsion lift to move upwards. So propulsion system is a major thing. Then you do have guidance system. Of course, you can't have, generally you don't have manned space rocket, so you control everything from the ground itself. So onboard computer based navigation system, and that steers the rocket on to its destination. So where you have to reach, that can be guided by means of the guidance system only. So then finally the payload, or whatever may be, it can be people, it can be satellite parts, or it can nuclear warheads, it can be anything. So payload is actually a in general you have satellites, but nowadays we do have people, and of course nuclear warheads. Now, modern spacecraft work like two or three independent rockets stuck together to form what we call it as stages. What are the stages? Now, see, uh, suppose if you go for a very long mission, like say long mission, we have to go with lot of oxidation and fuel. Fuel is not as easily available in space. We can't simply, okay, wait, fuel is over, we can refill and come back. No, we have to go with the with enough amount of propellant. We say propellant because it's a combination of fuel and oxidation. So in rocket terms, we term it as propellant only. So propellants are actually carried in a enough amount to ensure that you can go long. The more you carry, the more you can go far. Now, suppose if you carry a very big tank, say to carry fuel and oxidation, that itself will occupy everything. So it is necessary to find a way for that. So what we can do is we can make a stage by stage. So individual stage will be capable to produce the thrust. It has everything. Now once if the stage is over, once if that particular tank is over, that stage we can peel it out. We can throw it out so that the weight also is reduced and the thrust required also is minimized. So each stage will have its own propulsion system, guidance system. So through that only final stage contains the all important payload. So at the nose point, we do have satellite. That is the last stage. So that has the very important payload. So that is what you want, right? That's what you need to keep it in orbit. So the lower stages break away, of course, and reaches the rocket's destination. So that's the very important concept for multi-stage rockets. Now, you see, even though we are going to discuss only about the solid rockets today, but we'll see what are the types of rockets available. There are three types of rockets available. First one is solid rockets, or we can say solid propellant rockets, or we can say boosters. So these are three different names we can see. Solid or four, or sometimes they say it as solid motors. So solid rockets, solid propellant rockets, solid motors, or we can say boosters. Now the second one is liquid rockets, liquid propellant rockets, and generally we say it as rockets. The third one is hybrid rockets. Of course, we'll discuss each and everything in detail, but we'll see about the solid rockets. Now, solid rockets actually it uses solid propellant. I mentioned what is propellant. Propellant is nothing but the fuel and oxidizer. Fuel and oxidizer. We term it as propellant because in airplanes you would have mentioned it as fuel and oxygen separately, but here we have mentioned it as fuel and oxidizer. Now, in solid propellant, we do have a single like chalk piece. Okay, a single mixture of several chemicals, that is oxidizing agent, reducing agent, or we can say fuel. So we combine fuel and oxygen in one single grain. So how it is made? So it is actually a powdered, mixed and molded form of grain. So what we do, generally you make oxidizer in case of soil in the form of solid, fuel in the form of solid, and uh, you just powder it and mix it with proper proportions and mold it. So that's what a normal grain. They say it as grain, grain. Grain is nothing but a propellant. Okay. Now the fuel is in its solid state and has performed or molded shape. So you do mold it in a solid level. So the final form will be in a solid level. The third one is I already mentioned the propellant grain, that is the interior shape of the core, is an important factor in determining the rocket performance. So how much mixture you give, what is the shape of the grain, how we mold it, all these things actually affects the solid rocket's performance. Now, the variables determining grain relative performance are core surface area and specific impulse. So what they do? So generally, the performance of the rocket is based on two things. One is core surface area and specific impulse. So in case of solid rockets, it is based on two things. That is core surface area. Core surface area means how much it burns. So when you ignite, how much it burns. Okay. So that is what we talk about the core surface area, and specific impulse is the performance parameter. So it's in case of rocket, we have mentioned the performance parameter in terms of specific impulse only. See, suppose we have a bike. Suppose if you have a bike, mention it as mileage, right? If it's a bike, you mention it as mileage. So how much mileage this gives and all. Same way in case of rockets, you don't mention it as case of specific impulse. So specific impulse for a propellant is more means the performance is good. So that you keep in your mind. Performance is actually measured in terms of specific impulse in case of a rocket. So what are the components of a solid propellant rocket? So the basic components are propellant grain, nozzle throat, or we can say nozzle completely, you can say nozzle. You do have thrust vector control. I told you there are no control surfaces, so you must go for thrust vector control, control the direction and the position of the rocket. And you do have internal insulation, you do have motor case or outer case, then we do have igniter. So these are the basic components of a um, basic components of a fire rocket. Okay, I repeat, propellant grain, igniter, insulator, outer case, nozzle. So these are the very basic components in the solid propellant. Now, how it actually looks like. So this is another small, we can say the very basic components of the setup. You can see ignition charge or igniter. Then you do have casing or outer case. Then you do have grain. Then you have seal, and seal you can say inhibitor, the insulator we can say, right? Then nozzle. So how it actually looks like. So in the center, you will not have a solid portion. You do have some small bore. So when you burn it, when you ignite it, the center portion will first burn. So you burn, so it will catch the fire slowly, 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 slowly. The center portion will increase. So that's what the so with respect to increase, generally when it burns, so usually when it burns, the center portion we can say it burns, it produces very very hard gas. So it all starts with the ignition charge. So once if the ignition is done, then the bore or the center portion will catch fire. So once if it burns, it produces a very dark or we can say very hot smoke. So the hot smoke enters into the nozzle. In nozzle, the high pressure or we can say high energy gas is converted into high velocity exit. So there is a expansion. That expansion will convert the uh, high pressure into high velocity. So that is what we term as expansion. So with that, we get very high velocity exit at the end. So that is what you want. Now, where we can use this oil, as this is a fundamentals of aeronautics and astronautics subject, I'm not going in detail about what is the grain and much more about that. But still, we'll see that anyway in coming years. Next semester or in deep semesters, you may have separate subject called rockets, the separate subject called soil propellant. So we will study that in detail, but this is a basic subject. We are not going too much about it. Now, where we can use this soil propellant rockets, or we can say boosters. We generally use it for strap-on boosters, like in a big first in a primary engine, you do have small boosters at the side portion of the rocket. We can see at the time of start they'll be fired and it will produce very hot gas. The second one, upper stage propulsion system for orbital transfer vehicles. Of course, OTVs. Um, you have to get, of course, from one orbit to another orbit. We have to move it one satellite to another. So you have to use that particular propulsion system to move that vehicle from one orbit to another orbit. So that's what called. See, there are vehicles which can make use of, which can carry the satellites from one orbit to another orbit. So their job is only to that. So that's what we term as AOTV. That OTVs we use this boosters. Okay. Now, of course, strategic and tactical missile propulsion system. So we do have missiles in that mostly these boosters are used. Now, just jet assisted takeoff, JATO. Of course, we can see this in many aircraft for initial thrust augmentation. They used it, and now also we are using it in some aircraft. Now, gas generators for starting liquid engines and pressurizing tanks. Of course, we'll study about liquid propellant rockets. There we'll see gas generators. That means a small integrated combustion chamber. There also we use that. And for finally, attitude control propulsion system. So how you can control the position and its behavior, all these things we can use soil propellant rockets exhaust to control the attitude. So their behavior also you can control by means of the soil propellant rockets, as you can see boosters. Now we mentioned again, we don't have any valves, we don't have any pumps, we don't have any sensor, anything, nothing. You just have a case in which it holds the propellants, and if any additives is required, we can use it. For example, some we can say uh, chemical additives, like it can increase the rate of reaction, so we can boost it. That is only we are using it to control the burning. So it's very simple, very simple type of rocket. And I told you, right, that bore at the center, that bore at the center is what we call the grain configuration. So that grain configuration depends whatever you want. For example, in some rockets you want the initial stages to be very aggressive. You need more hot gases at the initial, fine, no problem. And when it goes for with respect time, you don't need more, no problem, we can use more. So this burning, initial burning, if it is more, then it is called uh, progressive burning. Then you do have a very constant burning, every time it is constant, then it is called neutral burning. No, and then, right, regressive burning means initially very high, then slowly it will drop out. Progressive means initially it is slow, but with respect to time it goes up. I mean, thrust will increase with respect to time. So all these things depends on the shape you make. These are the shapes which we normally follow in the grains. So a solid grain like chalk piece will be there. In that you make small shapes. So in that shape, the shape matters. So these are the basic shapes of the grain configuration based on that, right? So what are the things which will determine the performance of the soil propellant rocket? Anything. For internal ballistics, a common term that governs the burn rate. For example, and if you want to control the thrust, how we can control? In what way you can control? What actually determines the overall thrust? So these all factors, every factor determines the overall combustion in a soil propellant rocket comes under a common umbrella called internal ballistics. I repeat once again, the properties are the parameters which control the combustion rate in a soil propellant rocket are commonly called internal ballistics. Generally, the area ratio, the burn rate, temperature sensitivity of burn rate, temperature sensitivity of pressure, all these things control the overall combustion activities in the soil propellant rocket. Now, where usually what are the parameters? So like thrust, these are the things it will control: thrust, exhaust velocity, specific impulse, flame temperature, duration. Everything is controlled by the internal ballistic. So these are the governing parameters. Now, how we can select the proper soil propellant rockets? Soil propellant propellants, actually salt propellants selection criteria. Which propellant? See, when you go for a, suppose you decided to buy a bike, you are going for a showroom. Now, what are the parameters you look into the bike? Now, usually you'll see the design, shape, how whether it is attractive or not. Some people will see the cost of it. Some will see the comfort, how comfortable it is. Some will see the brand, and mostly people nowadays see the mileage. So you have many factors to take out. So what is the best bike should have? What is the best bike? It should have all these things. If you find it, then it is good, right? So a best soil propellant should have the following characteristics. First thing, it should have high specific impulse. It need to have high specific impulse. Now, I told you, high specific impulse means high good performance. So high specific impulse means good performance, and it should be having a predictable, reproducible, and initially adjustable burning rate. I told you, soil propellants are not, why they are not used as a main rocket, because once if you ignite it, once we start it, it's absolutely tough to control the thrust. Initially you can make some designs, uh, all these things. You can make some design like grain configuration. Somehow you can control the initial burning rate, but you can't control the overall thrust. So uh, the stall propellant which you are choosing should be predictable, reproducible, and adjustable. Now, any problem in thrust, or even change the chamber pressure during burning. Um, they should not the temperature coefficient should be small. So for suppose if anything happens in a combustion chamber, there should not be any huge variation in thrust. There should not be any huge variation in the chamber pressure. So it should not be having a huge impact towards the output of the solid propellant rocket. So there should be a small change. If there is a small change, a thrust also will be having a small change. Otherwise, what happens if you have small change in the, say, the pattern of the grain, then automatically if the thrust is shut down, then of course you will fall down, so it will end up with a very huge fatal accident. So it should not be having a huge change in the thrust or exit patterns. That is the most important thing. Now, adequate physical properties. Now, what is adequate physical properties? Suppose you see some chocolates, you do have some wafer, what is it, wrappers over it. Sometimes if you take the wrapper out, and if you are in a very hot or we can normal condition itself, it will melt like anything. So physically they are not good in strength. Your solid propellant should not be like this. Should be adequate bonding strength, and it should not degrade easily. Okay, so it should not damage easily. It should have a good physical strength, and it should be having high density also. So only you can have a compact uh, solid propellant. Otherwise, if it is very high dense, if it is low density, then you have to carry a very big uh, casing. All these things matters. So it should have high density, and it should be having good ignition quality. Suppose if one time ignition is shut down, again it should ignite again. You should not like one time shut down, okay, throw it out like that. It should not be like that. And it should be having desirable aging factor. That is, it should be for long time. It should be used for very long time, right? 5 to 10 years it should work. It will be sure also. Now it should have very low moisture absorption characteristics. It's not because moisture, once if the chemical absorbs moisture, it will go for deterioration. That means it will blast. Internal blast will be there. So that we should avoid. Now it should be simple, reproducible, and safe, and more importantly, it should be low cost. So we should not search for it. We should be right. It should be safe. Once we touch it, it should not blast. So it should be safe, and it should be low cost also. And the availability should be very very. You should not search everywhere to find the raw materials. It should be easily available, and low technical risk should be there. So by transportation and all should be properly easy to transport, and it should not be non-toxic and non. It should be non-toxic and non-corrosive. It should not be toxic. Once we touch it, gone. Once it should not be very corrosive also. So all these things matters. It should produce green exhaust, not down to combustion instability. This instability should not be there. It should be equal. It should be uniform, and every batch should produce equivalent composition. No, if one will produce different thrust, one will produce different. So that should not be like that. Everything should be behaving equally. And finally, uh, there should not be any dark plume. That is, the exhaust should be a green exhaust. It should not be a damaging exhaust, or it produces very high air pollution. All these things should not be there. So these are the main selection criteria of the solid propellant. So today we discussed about the basics of rockets. What is the difference between airplanes and rockets? We saw what are the types of rockets, and we saw what is solid rocket and the working principle, components, and the selection criteria in detail. So in next session, we'll discuss some other topic in detail. Thank you.